Hey, trumpet players, Mr. Fitz here, and we're going to talk about the notes on page 6. So I'm going to open our book and pass these green pages and wind up with page 6, all right? So what we're working on are the notes E, D, and C. So if you look right here, our very first note is E, and it occurs on the bottom line of the music staff, and we play it with the first and the second valve. That's how that is going to be played, and I'll show you how that sounds in a minute. All of these notes here are all on the bottom line, so that makes them all E's. They're also what we call whole notes. Okay, whole notes explained up here get 4 counts. And then these rectangle things are found up here also. Whole, rest, 4 counts of silence or rest, okay? So when we play these, you're gonna hear the note for 4 and then the rest for 4, and then it just keeps following a pattern, all right? So next note that we're gonna do is called D, and D is lower. If you notice the E's on the bottom line, the D is below the bottom line, so it's gonna have a lower sound, and it's played with your first and third valve. Notice that it's a whole note and a whole rest in the same pattern as what we did in line number 1. Finally, line number 3, you have to be able to tell which one is which, all right? So see if you can tell what that one is. Now you could pause the video if you want to, but figure out whether that's an E or a D, okay? And then the idea would be you've got to figure out if that's an E or a D. This one and this one. All right, so hopefully now, if you don't know, I want you to pause the video and look up at the top. Hopefully you figured out that that's an E, a rest, that's a D, another rest, that's an E, another rest, and that's a D and another rest. All right, now, at this point, I'm gonna start playing my trumpet. So let me just turn the camera around. Here I am. And actually, I gotta go grab my trumpet. Now, hopefully you've already known how to hold your trumpet correctly with your left hand this way. And then with your right hand, thumb goes in here and the fingers rest on top of the valves and this finger just sort of hangs out. Now, remember before we said the E was played the first and second valve, so that's that. The D is played with the first and the third valve. Let me turn this way, E, D. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play for you line number 1, time for band, on my trumpet. Here I go. 1, 2, ready, go. My note didn't come out there for a minute. That was scary. All right, so now back that up and play along with me, all right? And even with the mess up note that I did. All right, now I'm gonna do line number 2, which we said was D. So I'm gonna press down my first and second valve, okay? And actually I'll turn this way so you can see my fingers a little bit better. And here goes with line number 2. And that was line number 2. Now, line number 3, we mix them up, all right? So, again, hopefully you figured out that line number 3 is E, D, E, and D with rests in between. All right, so here goes with line number 3. Now I'm looking at the next note, and I'm getting ready for it. And I'm looking at the next note, here goes. And here's the final note. All right, and you probably hear my foot tapping. That's really important that you keep your foot tapping. Okay, so now it's time for line number 4, which is the note C. All right, so now I'm just going to turn the camera around, and there's the note C. Now, the thing about a C is it's lower than the D, and so it has an extra line to keep it from falling off into outer space. It actually has what we call a ledger line. Do you see how it's lower than the D? Like the D is just touching the bottom line, but this is even lower. So it's going to have a lower sound, and it's played with 0 valves. And notice again, whole notes. And each time you have a whole rest in between. All right, so now I'm going to play line number 4 for you so you can hear the sound of the C. I keep my fingers resting right on the valves, but I don't press them because that's what you do for C. Here I go. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one of these next 3. And that way I'm going to give you the opportunity to figure out the other ones. All right. I'm going to do line number 6. So I have to look at the first note and figure out what that is. But again, I can look up at these 3 here and determine which one it is. So you'll notice that that note is right under the bottom line. So which one of these 3 is that note that's under the bottom line? Hopefully you can figure out what that is. All right. Then after you do that note, then you go to this one. Look at that. That's even lower with a line through it. So then we look up here and we look at these 3 notes, figure out which one of those is the one that's lower below the staff with a line through it. Then we have a rest. Then we go to this one that's actually on the bottom line. And again, we look at these 3 to figure out what they are. And then finally the last note, where do we go? Number 6, here we go. The last note, it looks like the same as the first note. Do you see that? It's underneath the bottom line, okay? So pause the video if you need to figure it out, okay? And then hopefully you can figure out what they are. All right, so here we go. That's a D, rest, C, rest, E, rest, D, rest. So I'm going to play that one for you right now. Here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I hope that helps you. Now the thing to remember when you play the trumpet, I've been playing it for a while, but even though I've been playing it for a while, you notice I messed up a note when I did one of the songs, right? Sometimes the notes don't exactly come out the way you want them to. Just keep trying and make sure that you're doing the correct fingering, okay? And then eventually you'll be able to match them and make them sound like they're supposed to. All right, so have fun with that. Hope you enjoy that, and we'll go from there. Uh-oh, it stopped? No, it didn't stop. All right, bye.